Hello, hello, hello. We are soon entering April and it seems like it's getting better with game releases, at least games I find interesting. In April, one of the games I look forward the most this year is releasing, but we'll get back to that one a bit later. I have 13 games in this video that I think looks interesting and is worth keeping an eye on. Let's get to it. First up, we have Koira, a beautiful adventure game about a friendship between you and your newfound puppy. Koira gives me similar vibes to Haunty that released last year, a very unique style and minimalistic graphics. The game seems like a very straightforward adventure game that tells a story without much dialogue and still gets everything across to you. You have some stealth mechanics in the game, as there are hunters in the forest trying to capture animals. There's also some puzzle solving, but for the most part I think this is more of a chill game with a more relaxed vibe to it. Release is planned for 1st of April. Next up is Death Kid, an arcade-inspired arena brawler with roguelite elements. You play as Death Kid, who is cursed with immortality and is trying to put the wheel of life and death back in motion. To do this, you need to descend through 8 levels, and with you have 3 souls that is unlocking each level for you. What you need to do is protect them from enemies approaching from all sides. It's a nice dynamic in the game that the enemies are for the most part ignoring you in order to stop the 3 souls from unlocking the next level. And it's definitely adding a stress level, as you have to take care of the enemies as fast as possible before they get to the souls in the middle. If you fail, you have a small little hub to gain new skills and become stronger. I really like the game, it's a neat little game that plays really well. Release is planned for 2nd of April. Then we have Commander Quest. This one makes itself stand out a bit within the roguelike genre by combining deck building with auto battles in waves. So you have a commander and the same goes for the enemy. The commander that goes down first loses. You have a bit of energy to play out cards from your deck. These cards can be effects and units. Once you have placed them on the battlefield, the battle begins against the enemy forces. A timer will also start for when the next wave begins. When it starts, the battle is paused and you'll get new energy so that you can play out new cards, and then the battle continues. It's an unusual way to play, but I like that it gives you some time to plan a bit and react to what the enemy has. You'll also get a bit of randomness with the card draw. There are different commanders, relics, you get new cards as you play. What I don't like about the game is kind of the style. It's a bit boring, but I definitely like the gameplay a lot. Release is planned for 4th of April. Then we have Rogue Loops, which is an action roguelite. I played the demo for this one a while back and I really liked it. I will hopefully have a review of the game at the end of next week. So subscribe if you're interested in that. The game's gameplay and gimmick is interesting. The arena is round and split into 2 halves. You battle on one half, get a perk and a curse, then move on to the other side and do the same. If you survive for a few rounds, you'll have a boss and move on to the next arena. If you die, you have a hub between runs with your usual upgrades, characters, and a bit of that. The game plays really well, very fast, snappy, and you really want to minimize mistakes as much as possible, as health is definitely the hardest thing to get in the game. The skills in the game are fun, not too flashy, but does the job. You can have 2 with you at the same time. I do think it can get a bit messy on the screen at times. The angle can make it a bit hard to see everything clearly, but I think that will get better with time as you get familiar with the game. Release is also planned for 4th of April. Next up is Gnomes. This one I also played a while back. I'll have a link for the video below, and it's finally releasing. This is a roguelike tower defense where you are gnomes defending your garden against goblins. I think the biggest downside of this game is the style. It might be a deal breaker for many. It's a bit too dark, muted in the colors. I'm not really a fan of this, but at least it doesn't impact the gameplay. The game is played in waves, and you place gnomes to attack the incoming goblins and make a longer path for them to take. You also have buildings that can help with this. The goblins will attack from different places each wave, so you'll have to move your gnomes each wave. What you can't move is the structures, so a bit of pre-planning is very necessary. The game also have relics and different gnome types to take with you into battle, making the game a bit more interesting. But it's definitely a fun little tower defense game with some really neat mechanics. Release is also planned for 4th of April. Next up is Crashlands 2. I didn't play the first one back in 2016, but with 5,000 reviews on Steam and 90% of them are positive, that's very impressive. The second one seems to be a big step up in every way. This is an open world crafting RPG with a touch of humor on top of that. I must say I love the colors in this game, super vibrant, it really makes the game pop. Much like the first game, you crash on a planet and basically have to befriend the different aliens living here and try to survive. That involves fighting, and you can of course craft a ton of interesting gadgets, elixirs and weapons, and of course a ton more. And it seems like the game is going over the top with most things. There is of course housing as well, you got fishing, farming and egg hatching. A ton of content in this one. Release is planned for 10th of April. Next up is Blueprints. I overlooked this game at first, but when I took a closer look, I got really intrigued by it. This is a puzzle adventure game that takes place in a mysterious manner. You are trying to reach room 46, but it's harder than you might think. As you start to explore the mansion, you get to place down rooms as you find closed doors. Within the rooms you will have to explore to find tools and solve puzzles. But at each dawn the house resets, erasing everything except permanent upgrades to your estate blueprint. The latest trailer sets up the game much better than I ever could, if you want to know more. But I'm really excited for this game. It seems like a really fun and interesting puzzle adventure. Release is also planned for 10th of April. Then we have Steel Seed, a stealth action adventure, and it's definitely been a while since I played a game about being stealthy. The game is played in third person and is set in the future after a climate disaster. An AI have taken over and you play as Zoe, who is searching for her father in an underground facility. With you on your journey you have Kobe, a flying drone that will help you out and that you can even pilot. The game seems to have a lot of platforming sections interwoven with combat that can be approached via stealth or head-on. I think the set pieces in the latest trailer looks really good. I hope the gameplay overall is fun and challenging and that the story is interesting. I really hope the studio hasn't taken on too much with this game, but I think it looks really good. This one is also planned for 10th of April, 2 stacked days this upcoming month. Next up is Warside, a turn-based tactics game that has mimicked the style of the old Advance Wars series to a T. The game will feature a single-player campaign with over 30 missions. The game will also support all types of co-op and PvP play, local, remote and online, which is nice to see. There are 12 commanders and 25 different unit types, and some of the units look exactly like the old Advance Wars series. It's kind of insane, but I do spot at least one new unit that looks like a bulldozer. You will of course be able to fight on land, in the water and in the air. Just like in Advance Wars, there seems to be factions that will have faction-specific units and mechanics, so that's kind of interesting. And there'll be a map editor, love this, always fun to create your own maps in these types of games. Release is planned for 14th of April. Then we have Escape the Mad Empire, a roguelike dungeon crawler that is party-based. The game is still single-player, but you'll assemble a group of heroes that is trying to, well, escape the Mad Empire. The gameplay reminds me a lot of the old RPGs, but without the intrigues and conversations. For me it would be like Dragon Age Origins or Neverwinter Nights, where you can pause at any time, you have a party with different skills, there is tons of loot and interesting locations and enemies. I really like the style as well, very similar to Heroes of Hammerwatch 2, a very pleasant style of pixelated graphics. This one will enter early access on the 22nd of April and will stay there for about a year. According to the developers, the bulk of the core gameplay experience is in place, and there is about 40 hours of content already, which is really nice to hear. Next up is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This is one of the games I look forward to the most this year. It looks so good. This is an action RPG with turn-based combat that includes some quick-time events as well if you wanted to. The studio that made this game started off with 2 people working on an idea, but the studio have quickly grown into a bit over 30 people, I think, if I remember correctly. And I think the visuals are amazing for this game. The style of everything and especially the combat. It's so beautiful. And in the story for the game you are playing as the members of Expedition 33. You are trying to stop the Paintress as she each year draws a new number next down in a series and all people of that age die. The structure of the game seems to follow pretty standard RPG tropes with an overworld, dungeons, bosses, leveling, it's all here. I'm a bit afraid of being let down by the story, but the characters at least look well realized with some good chemistry as well, so hopefully it turns out well. Release for this one is planned for 24th of April. Then we have Yasha Legends of the Demon Blade, an action RPG with roguelike elements. Set during the Edo period in Japan, the balance between humans and demons have shattered, the nine-tailed fox has arisen, rallying demonkind. You will get to play as 3 characters in the game, an immortal ninja, an Oni emissary, and a demon samurai, all with their own narrative, weapons, and combat styles. I like the simple 3D style of the game, reminds me of the good old days. The combat also looks fast and responsive. I hope all 3 characters are as interesting to play, and I would guess the story in the game will kind of go through all 3 characters, and they will hopefully interact with each other in an interesting way as well. Release for this one is also planned for 24th of April. Next up is Conquest Dark, an action RPG roguelite survivor. The story of the game mentions a black planet and you the player now standing between it and the annihilation of humanity. The game doesn't seem to push the genre forward really, instead it seems to utilize all the genre's strength with several classes, weapons, abilities, armors, and a ton of enemies. It looks like a good time, and I do think there is some build potential in the game with different abilities and gear combinations. It doesn't have the standard path choosing map either, instead you have a map with multiple paths going outward from a city that kind of branches out with different rewards. This one will enter early access on the 30th of April and will stay there for about a year. If you missed it, I have a timestamp and Steam link for all the games in the description below. And thank you so much for watching, have a great day and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!